Hello landscape lovers! Today we are testing the Sony 16 to 35mm f4G power zoom. Now, to be honest, f4 lenses are not usually my first choice. Why? I tend to ignore them because they are difficult or even impossible to use for stars and the northern lights. But this review is here because so many of you kept asking about this lens. A few highlights. Weighs only 353 grams, it doesn't extend when zooming, and it's packed with modern video features that no other wide-angle zoom in this range offers. On paper, it looks like the perfect travel lens. But here's the big question: can such a small f4 zoom actually deliver the sharpness and consistency we need for serious landscape work? That's exactly what we are going to find out in this review. Before we dive in, two quick reminders. Our Patreon is live, and we have just set it up with tiers that give you access to much more than YouTube can offer. As always, you will find a couple of raw files from this test for free under the video. But if you want the full package, I mean all raw exposures, complete bracket sets, and even my field notes, you will find that in our insider tier on Patreon. And if you are serious about taking your landscape photos to the next level, join one of our exclusive photo expeditions. We travel to Iceland, Lofoten, Dolomites, Madeira, Cyprus, even Alaska. These trips sell out quickly, so check the links and secure your spot. Let's talk real-world performance. We tested this lens both in the Czech Republic and in the humid streets of Hong Kong. Build quality is excellent, weather sealed, lightweight, and it beautifully balances even on small camera bodies. And here's the key point: this is a power zoom lens. The zoom is fully internal, so the length of the lens never changes. No trombone effect, no dust vacuum, and stable balance on the tripod head even when changing focal lengths. One detail worth mentioning is that this lens was designed with videographers in mind. There is a dedicated zoom rocker, just here, switch on the barrel marked W and T. Still photographers will probably not use it much, but for video shooters it's a very useful feature. The lens also does not have optical stabilization built in. On Sony bodies with in-body image stabilization, this is not really an issue, but it's good to know. You can perform smooth, control zooms electronically using rocker, the ring, or even remotely. For video shooters, it's a huge win. For stills, the zoom feels a bit more electronic than mechanical, but it's responsive and precise. And now let's move to the part everybody always waits for: sharpness. Because no matter how light or fancy a lens is, if the details fall apart in the corners, it doesn't matter for landscapes. So let's see how this f4 power zoom actually performs. At 16mm wide open at f4, the center is crisp and sharp, but the corners are obviously weaker. If you are shooting wide open, you will see that softness in the edges right away. Stopping down to 5.6 improved things, and by f8 the frames looks a lot cleaner, with sharpness running consistently from the center to the edges. Still, pixel peepers will notice that the extreme corners never fully reach the same level as the middle of the frame. At 24mm the story changes a bit. The center is strong already at f4, very good at 5.6, and excellent at f8. But the corners again lag behind. They are usable. They do get sharper top down, but they never quite match the center's bite and clarity. For large prints, you will definitely see the difference. At 35mm, the center is very good even wide open, but the corners are once again weak. This is the weakest spot of the zoom. Center sharpness is fine, but edges at f4 are soft, By f8 the situation improves a lot with a very strong center and more consistent edges, but again, the corners never reach the level of a top prime or a G master zoom. So, in real-world use, if you keep this lens at f8, you will get solid results with good consistency across the frame. But if you shoot it wide open, be prepared for softer corners. Now, here's where Astro comes in. At f4, we are capturing about 5 times less light than f1.8. In practice, it means if we normally shoot the Milky Way without a tracker at ISO 12,800 to, let's say, 16,000, with this zoom, we would have to push the sensitivity far beyond ISO 51,200. That's already more or less the last value we can still call usable even on a body like the Sony A1 Mark II, which handles high ISO exceptionally well. Go higher than that and the files simply fall apart. And instead of capturing around 40,000 stars, you will see maybe 8,000 stars. So more than 30,000 stars gone simply because of the aperture. So no, we didn't even bother testing it on the Milky Way or the Northern Lights. Vignetting is noticeable at 16mm f4, more than expected, but it improves at 5.6 and is practically gone by f8. Distortion is heavy barrel at 16mm and shifts to pincushion by 35mm. If you shoot raw without corrections, it looks extreme. With correction applied, it's under control, though you lose a little field of view. Flare resistance is solid. Shooting directly into the sun gave us only minor ghosting and strong contrast. Sunstars start appearing at 5.6 and they look clean. Chromatic aberration is well controlled. Now let's compare it with the Sony 16-35mm f2.8 GM2. At 16mm wide open at f4, the GM2 is clearly ahead. It has much cleaner corners, stronger contrast and overall higher image quality. The power zoom holds up in the center, but the edges are visibly weaker. Stopping both down to f5.6 and f8 sharpens the frame, but the GM2 still keeps the upper hand, especially in the extreme corners. At 24mm the power zoom is not bad. The center is sharp, the mid-frame looks good, but the corners are softer than on the GM2. Stop down to f8, the power zoom improves a lot, yet the GM2 still delivers more consistent corner sharpness and micro contrast. Even in real-world use, you can see the difference if you look closely at detailed edges of the frame. At 35mm wide open, the story repeats itself. The GM2 corners are stronger and the centers are close, but when you stop down to f8, the power zoom comes closer. Still, the GM2 maintains cleaner corners and more micro contrast. So let's be clear. The Sony 16-35 f2.8 GM2 takes the crown. It's sharper, has more contrast and performs at a higher level across the frame at every focal length. But that's expected. It's a premium, faster and much more expensive lens. If you want the best, you pay for the GM2. But if you want about, let's say, 75% of that performance in half the size, half the weight, and for much less money, the 16-35 f4G power zoom suddenly makes a lot of sense. Now let's compare it with the Sony 16mm f1.8G. This is where the difference really shows. At f1.8, the prime already performs impressively well. The center is very sharp and even the corners look strong for such a fast ultra-wide. For Astro, this is exactly what you want. Sharp stars across most of the frame and far more light captured than the power zoom could ever deliver. At f2.8, the prime cleans up beautifully, corners get stronger, chroma reduces and the frame looks excellent edge to edge. At f4, the prime is outstanding, center and corners both rather sharp. Compared to the power zoom at f4, the prime just wins on sharpness. At f5.6 and f8, the power zoom improves a lot, and gets to a very good level, but the 16mm f1.8 still keeps the edge, especially in the corners and in overall sharpness. For landscape shooters, you will notice the prime holds more details across the frame, while the power zoom is good, but not quite there. Wide open difference is huge. The prime is simply in another league, giving you sharp stars for Astro, cleaner edges and more detail. The power zoom can't compete in those areas. Its real strength is flexibility with the zoom range, internal power zoom and video usability. And by the way, we already tested the Sony 16mm f1.8 in detail on this channel. You'll find that full review linked below this video or in our lens and gear test playlist. In practice, I found the power zoom to be a very solid lens. During field testing in the Czech Republic and in the humid streets of Hong Kong, it handled conditions without issue. So who is this lens for? Not astrophotographers, not perfectionists who need absolute corner-to-corner sharpness wide open, but for travelers, hikers and landscape shooters who value low weight, weather sealing, easy use with filters and strong results at f5.6 and f8. This lens makes perfect sense. Our verdict: the Sony 16-35mm f4G power zoom isn't the most exciting lens in Sony's lineup, but it's one of the most practical. For video, it's excellent. For daylight and twilight landscapes, it's more than enough. At f8, it delivers exactly what you expect: sharp, consistent images across the frame. But if you want a sharper, faster, more capable lens with cleaner corners and less blur distortion, especially for Astro or demanding corner-to-corner sharpness, the real winners are the 16mm f1.8G and the 16-35mm f2.8 GM2. And as a bonus, you can download a simple comparison chart of all three lenses right below this video. That one is free, and you will also get a couple of raw files to try out. If you would like the full package, complete bracket sets, all exposures and my field notes, you will find it in our insider tier on Patreon. If this video was helpful, please give it a like so YouTube shows it to more photographers. And if you would like to take your photography even further, come and join one of our expeditions. Lofoten under the midnight sun, the misty forests of Madeira, the dramatic Dolomites, Iceland's volcanoes, or even Alaska. All the links are in the description. So don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell so you will not miss the next lens review or field tutorial. Thanks a lot for watching, and as always, keep chasing the light.
By the way, have you heard that you can join us on our exclusive photography expeditions to Lofoten in Iceland? If you want to know more, check the link below.